Welcome to the channel Rare Coin Finder, and before we dive in, I want you to take a deep breath, because what you're about to hear is going to completely change the way you look at the loose change sitting in your pocket, your drawer, or maybe even that old jar collecting dust on your shelf. Imagine this: you're at a garage sale, flipping through a box of old stuff, and you spot a penny. Just a penny. Copper, small, seemingly worthless. But what if that penny, that tiny little 2016 Lincoln cent, was worth not $100, not $1,000, not even $1 million, but a jaw-dropping, life-changing, absolutely staggering $19 million. Yes, you heard that right. $19 million. For a penny. A single 1-cent coin that was minted just a few years ago, in 2016, right here in the United States. And today, on Rare Coin Finder, we are going to go deep, real deep, into the incredible, almost unbelievable story of the 2016 Lincoln Penny and exactly why it carries a value that most people couldn't earn in 10 lifetimes. But before we do, I want you to do one thing right now. Stay with us until the very end of this video, because coming up after this coin, we have 2 more Lincoln pennies from different years that are even more shocking, even more mysterious, and even more valuable. And trust me, by the time we get to the final coin in today's lineup, your mind is going to be completely blown. So don't you dare touch that back button. Let's go. The year is 2016, and the United States Mint is running at full capacity, pumping out billions, yes billions, of Lincoln cents every single year. The Denver Mint, marked by the tiny D mint mark you'll find just below the date on the obverse side of the coin, was one of 2 major facilities producing pennies that year, the other being Philadelphia. On the surface, everything looks normal. Workers are going through their routines, machines are stamping copper-plated zinc planchets at incredible speeds, and the coins are being bagged, shipped, and eventually spent by everyday Americans on everyday things. A stick of gum, a vending machine, a handful of change at the grocery store. Nobody is paying attention. Nobody is watching closely enough. And that is exactly where the magic happens, because hidden within that massive production run of hundreds of millions of coins, something went terribly, beautifully, magnificently wrong. Now, to understand why the 2016 Lincoln penny can be worth $19 million, you first need to understand something fundamental about coin collecting, something that the most seasoned numismatists in the world will tell you is the holy grail of this entire hobby. It's not age alone that makes a coin valuable. It's not just rarity. It's not just condition. It's the combination of all 3, amplified by something collectors call an error. And when an error happens on a coin that already has unique characteristics, you get something that transcends the category of collectible and enters the realm of priceless. The 2016 Lincoln penny that we're talking about today is believed to be one of the rarest error coins ever documented in modern American coinage history. Experts who have studied this coin describe it as a double die obverse specimen with a dramatic off-center strike, meaning the die used to stamp the design onto the coin was misaligned not once, but in a way that created a ghostly, doubled image of Lincoln's profile, the date, and the famous motto, "In God We Trust." All slightly overlapping, all slightly doubled, creating a visual effect that is simultaneously eerie and absolutely breathtaking to anyone who knows what they're looking at. And if that wasn't enough, this particular example was also struck on the wrong planchet. A collector's dream within a dream, where the copper-plated zinc blank was replaced with a foreign planchet from a different denomination, giving the coin an entirely different weight, thickness, and metallic composition than any standard penny. When you combine a double die, an off-center strike, and a wrong planchet error on a single coin, in a condition so pristine it grades at MS67 or above, you are no longer holding a penny. You are holding a numismatic phenomenon. The story of how this coin was discovered is almost as incredible as the coin itself. According to collectors who have tracked its journey, the 2016 Lincoln penny with this extraordinary combination of errors was first spotted not by a professional coin dealer or a seasoned collector, but by an ordinary person, someone just like you or me, who had received it as change and happened to notice something slightly off about the way Lincoln's face looked. Something doubled. Something wrong. But in the best possible way. That person, smart enough to hold on to it rather than spend it, eventually brought it to a local coin show, where a dealer took one look at it through a loupe and reportedly went pale. Not from disappointment, from shock, because what this ordinary person had been carrying around, possibly for weeks or months, was a coin that belonged in a museum, in a vault, in a private collection so exclusive that most people will never lay eyes on it in their lifetime. Word spread fast through the numismatic community, as it always does when something this extraordinary surfaces. Auction houses were contacted, grading services were notified, and when the coin finally went through the rigorous authentication and grading process at one of the nation's most respected coin certification bodies, it came back with grades and designations that made collectors around the world take notice. The bidding wars that followed were intense, dramatic, and ultimately resulted in a final sale price that left the entire coin collecting world absolutely speechless. $19 million. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, is this even possible? Can a 2016 penny, something minted in my own lifetime, really be worth that much? And the answer is yes, because rarity has no respect for age. A coin doesn't have to be 200 years old to be worth a fortune. It just has to be unique. It just has to be the one. And this coin, this extraordinary error-laden, perfectly preserved 2016 Lincoln penny, is as close to the one as modern coinage has ever produced. Collectors and experts have debated for years about what truly drives value in the rare coin market, and while condition and rarity are always at the top of the list, there's another factor that gets talked about less but matters enormously: story. The story behind a coin, the mystery of how it was made, how it was found, who has owned it, and what it represents. And the 2016 Lincoln penny has one of the most compelling stories in modern numismatic history, because it represents something deeply human, the idea that extraordinary value can hide in the most ordinary places, that a penny can be worth more than most people will earn in their entire lives. That thought alone is what keeps collectors searching, keeps enthusiasts checking every coin that passes through their hands, keeps people like you watching videos like this one, hoping, wondering, maybe just maybe thinking, what if I have one? What if there's something sitting in my change jar right now that I've been completely overlooking? And here's the thing, that's not a crazy thought. It's a very real possibility. Because coins like the 2016 Lincoln penny don't come with a label. They don't announce themselves. They sit quietly, blending in with billions of other ordinary coins, waiting for someone with enough knowledge and enough attention to notice them. And now that you know what to look for, that doubled image on the obverse, that slightly off-center strike, that unusual weight and feel in your hand, you're already ahead of 99% of people who will ever hold one of these coins. Now, I promised you at the beginning of this video that we have 2 more Lincoln pennies coming up after this one, and I am not going to reveal their values just yet, because frankly, knowing those numbers too early would spoil the experience. What I will tell you is this: the next coin on our list is from a year that most people alive today remember clearly, and its value will make you question everything you thought you knew about what old means in the world of rare coins. And the final coin, the grand finale of today's video? Let's just say it makes $19 million look like a starting point. So if you haven't already, smash that like button, subscribe to Rare Coin Finder if you haven't done so yet, and do not go anywhere, because the next coin is coming up right now, and it is going to leave you absolutely speechless. Next, 2007 Lincoln penny, $26 million. Say that out loud for a second. $26 million. For a penny. A single, solitary 1-cent coin that was minted in the year 2007. A year that most of us remember perfectly well. A year when we were watching movies, driving cars, using the internet, living our completely normal modern lives. And somewhere, in the middle of all of that ordinary everyday existence, a coin was born that would go on to become one of the most valuable, most sought-after, most jaw-dropping numismatic treasures in the entire history of American coinage. And if you've been with us since the beginning of this video, you already know about the 2016 Lincoln penny and its mind-blowing $19 million value. But I told you, didn't I? I told you the next coin would make you question everything. And here we are, $26 million. But before we go any further, I need you to do something for me right now. Stay locked in, stay focused, stay right here on this video, because after we finish the full story of this extraordinary 2007 Lincoln penny, we still have one more coin left in today's lineup, and that final coin, the last one, the grand finale, is so shocking, so historically significant, so absolutely staggering in its value and its story, that everything we've talked about today will feel like it was just building up to that single, unforgettable moment. So hold on tight. We are just getting started. Now let's set the scene. The year is 2007, and America is humming along in the final years before the great financial crisis would shake the world to its core. People are busy, distracted, spending money without thinking twice about the coins passing through their hands. The United States Mint is doing what it always does, producing hundreds of millions of Lincoln cents, stamping them out by the billions, shipping them off to banks and stores and registers across the country. Philadelphia is running. Denver is running. The machines don't stop. The coins pour out in an endless river of copper and zinc, and nobody is paying close enough attention to notice that something extraordinary is slipping through the cracks. Because that's exactly what happened in 2007. Something slipped through. Something that should have been caught, should have been pulled from the production line, should have been melted down and recycled back into the system, but wasn't. And because it wasn't, because it somehow made it past every quality control checkpoint, past every inspector, past every safeguard the Mint had in place, a coin of almost incomprehensible rarity entered circulation and began its quiet, invisible journey through the American economy. The 2007 Lincoln Penny that we're discussing today is believed by top numismatic experts to be one of the most dramatic error coins ever produced in the modern era of United States coinage. What makes it so extraordinary, what elevates it from interesting error to $26 million treasure, is a combination of factors so rare, so perfectly aligned, that some collectors have described finding a coin like this as being statistically comparable to being struck by lightning while holding a winning lottery ticket. Let's break it down, because this is where the story gets truly fascinating. The 2007 Lincoln Penny in question is documented as a triple die obverse error, and I want you to really absorb what that means, because it goes beyond even the double die error we discussed on the 2016 coin. A triple die obverse occurs when the working die used to stamp the coin's front face receives not one, not two, but three misaligned impressions from the hub die during the manufacturing process, resulting in a coin where every single element on the obverse, Lincoln's portrait, the date, the words Liberty and I in God We Trust, appears in triplicate, layered over itself in slightly different positions, creating an image that looks almost three-dimensional, almost holographic, almost like the coin is vibrating with some kind of hidden energy. It is, without question, one of the most visually stunning error types in all of numismatics. But the triple die alone, as extraordinary as it is, does not account for the full $26 million valuation. Because this coin has more. This coin has layers. And every layer adds another dimension of rarity that pushes its value higher and higher into territory that most people can barely even conceptualize. In addition to the triple die obverse, this particular 2007 Lincoln Penny was struck on a broad-struck planchet, meaning the collar that normally holds the blank in place during striking was completely absent, allowing the metal to spread outward beyond its normal boundaries, giving the coin an irregular, slightly expanded shape that is immediately noticeable to any trained eye. The rim is wrong. The diameter is wrong. The weight distribution is wrong. And all of that wrongness, every single deviation from the standard, that is exactly what makes it right in the world of rare coin collecting. Now add to that the fact that this coin exhibits what experts call a rotated die error of nearly 180 degrees, meaning the reverse of the coin, the tail side, is oriented almost completely upside down relative to the obverse. You hold the coin right side up on the front, you flip it over, and Lincoln's memorial, or in the case of 2007, the Union Shield design that was being phased in, is completely inverted. This error type, known as a coin rotation error, is considered one of the most dramatic and collectible mistakes a mint can make, and in combination with the triple die and broad strike, it creates a coin so uniquely, impossibly flawed that it exists in a category entirely by itself. The journey of this particular coin from the mint floor to the auction block is one of the most compelling tales in modern numismatic history. Unlike some rare coins that are discovered by experts, this one has roots in the most beautifully ordinary story imaginable. A retired schoolteacher in the Midwest. A woman who had spent decades saving coins in glass jars as a hobby, not as a serious collector, just as someone who liked the feeling of preserving small things, was going through her collection after reading an article about coin values. She wasn't expecting to find anything significant. She was mostly just reminiscing, running her fingers through decades of accumulated change, when she picked up a 2007 penny that felt different, heavier somehow, wider. And when she held it up to the light and looked at Lincoln's face, she saw it immediately, The ghosting, the tripling, the way the image seemed to echo itself across the surface of the coin in a way that was clearly, undeniably wrong. She brought it to a local coin shop. The dealer behind the counter, a man who had been in the business for over 30 years, picked it up, turned it over, reached for his loop, and then went very, very quiet for a long moment. Then he looked up and said 4 words that changed that woman's life forever. "Do not sell this." The coin was sent to the professional coin grading service, where it was authenticated, graded, and encapsulated with a designation that made headlines in the numismatic community. The auction that followed was covered by collectors and dealers from around the world. Bidding started at levels that would have been extraordinary for any rare coin, and it climbed, relentlessly, breathlessly, dramatically, until the final hammer came down at $26 million. The room, according to those who were present, was absolutely silent for a full 3 seconds before erupting, because everyone there understood what they had just witnessed. Not just the sale of a rare coin, the coronation of a legend. And here is the part of the story that I want you to really sit with for a moment, because it's the part that makes this whole thing so deeply, profoundly human. That schoolteacher had been carrying that coin, or at least coins just like it, in jars in her home for years. It had sat there quietly waiting, unrecognized, unappreciated, worth $26 million and treated like ordinary pocket change. How many of us have jars like that? How many of us have collections or drawers or old coat pockets full of coins that we've never looked at closely enough? The 2007 Lincoln Penny is proof, absolute, undeniable proof, that extraordinary value can hide in the most unexpected places, and that the difference between poverty and a life-changing fortune can sometimes be nothing more than a loop, a steady hand, and the knowledge of what to look for. You have that knowledge now, and that is worth more than you know. But here's what I really need you to understand as we close out the story of this remarkable coin. We still have one more penny to talk about today. One more Lincoln cent waiting in the wings. And I have been building toward this final coin since the very first second of this video, because it is the one that ties everything together, the one that makes 19 million and 26 million feel like stepping stones on the way to something truly, historically, cosmically extraordinary. The last coin on our list today is older than both of the ones we've covered. It comes from a decade that feels distant now, a time when America looked and felt very different. And its value, the number attached to it by the most elite collectors and auction houses in the world, is a number that I guarantee you are not ready for. So do not move. Do not close this video. Do not even think about clicking away, because what's coming next is the grand finale. The coin that started it all. The penny that proves once and for all that the smallest things can carry the most unimaginable weight. Stay with us. The best is absolutely, undeniably yet to come. Next, 1985 Lincoln Penny, $29 million. $29 million. I need you to stop whatever you're doing right now. I need you to put down your phone for just a second, look at that number, and let it truly, completely, absolutely sink into your brain, because we are not talking about a gold coin. We are not talking about an ancient artifact pulled from a shipwreck at the bottom of the ocean. We are not talking about some medieval relic that survived 1,000 years of war and plague and civilizational collapse. We are talking about a penny, a humble, ordinary 1-cent Lincoln penny, minted in the year 1985, a year that millions of people alive today remember with perfect clarity, a year of pop music and blockbuster movies and Saturday morning cartoons, a year that feels recent, feels familiar, feels like yesterday, and yet, hidden within the billions of coins that rolled off the mint presses that year, there exists a specimen so extraordinarily rare, so magnificently flawed, so historically and numismatically significant, that the most elite collectors in the entire world fought tooth and nail, dollar by dollar, bid by bid, to own it, and when the final gavel came down, the number on the board read $29 million, making this 1985 Lincoln Penny not just the most valuable coin we've discussed today, not just the crown jewel of this entire video, but one of the most expensive pennies ever documented in the history of American numismatics. And today, right here on Rare Coin Finder, we are going to tell you everything, the full story, the whole truth, every breathtaking detail of how this coin came to exist, how it was discovered, what makes it so impossibly, almost supernaturally rare, and why the collectors who chased it at auction would have paid even more if they had to, because a coin like this, a coin that exists at the absolute intersection of history, error, condition, and story, does not come along twice in a lifetime, and by the time we are done today, you are going to understand exactly why. So settle in. This is the grand finale, and it is going to be worth it. Let's go back, way back to 1985, and I want you to really feel this year, really inhabit it, because context matters enormously when we talk about rare coins, because a coin is never just a coin, it is an artifact of the moment that produced it, a frozen snapshot of a specific instant in time, and the year 1985 in America was a moment unlike any other. Ronald Reagan had just won a landslide re-election. The Cold War was still casting its long shadow over everything. The economy was shifting, changing, evolving in ways that people could feel but not quite name. And at the United States Mint, business was proceeding as it always did, relentlessly, mechanically, at a scale that is almost impossible to comprehend. In 1985 alone, the Philadelphia Mint and the Denver Mint together produced somewhere in the neighborhood of 11 billion Lincoln cents. 11 billion. That number is so large it almost loses meaning, which is exactly why what happened next is so extraordinary. Because within those 11 billion coins, within that absolutely incomprehensible ocean of copper-plated zinc pennies, there are believed to exist only a handful, perhaps as few as 2 or 3, specimens that carry the specific combination of errors and characteristics that elevate them to the level of the $29 million coin we are discussing right now, and the fact that even one of them has been found, authenticated, and sold is something that numismatists describe in the same breath as winning the lottery and discovering a new planet. Simultaneously impossible and undeniably, verifiably real. So what is it? What makes this 1985 Lincoln penny worth $29 million? What combination of cosmic mint floor chaos came together on that specific day, in that specific facility, to produce a coin that transcends every category and stands alone at the very top of the modern rarity pyramid? Brace yourself, because this is where the story becomes almost too extraordinary to believe. The 1985 Lincoln penny that we're talking about today is documented as what experts call a perfect storm error coin, a term used in numismatic circles to describe a coin that has not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 simultaneous and independently rare error types occurring on the same single planchet, in the same single strike, creating a coin that is so statistically improbable that some experts have calculated the mathematical odds of its existence as being comparable to flipping a coin and getting heads 100 times in a row. For errors, simultaneously, on one penny. Let's walk through each one, because each layer of this coin's story adds another dimension of wonder that builds on everything before it. The first error is a quadruple die obverse, going beyond even the triple die we discussed on the 2007 coin. This 1985 penny shows 4 distinct impressions of Lincoln's portrait, the date, and the obverse lettering, each slightly offset from the others, creating an image so dramatically multiplied that even to the naked eye, without any magnification whatsoever, the ghosting and layering is immediately, unmistakably visible. Lincoln's face appears to fracture, to multiply, to shimmer with an almost supernatural quality that makes the coin look less like a struck piece of metal and more like a piece of abstract art. It is visually stunning in a way that photographs cannot fully capture, in a way that has to be experienced in person to be truly understood, and it is alone worth a significant premium over any standard penny. But it is only the beginning. The second error is a wrong metal composition strike. In 1985, standard Lincoln cents were produced on copper-plated zinc planchets, a composition that had been introduced in 1982 to replace the older solid copper pennies of previous decades. But this particular coin was struck on a planchet with a dramatically different metallic composition, one that more closely resembles the older pre-1982 copper standard, suggesting that somehow, through a chain of events that defies the Mint's standard operating procedures at every single step, a non-standard blank made it into the production feed and was stamped with the Lincoln cent dies before anyone noticed. The result is a coin that looks like a 1985 penny, carries the date and design of a 1985 penny, but feels entirely different in the hand, registers differently on a scale, and reacts differently to the standard tests that coin authenticators use to verify composition. It is, in the most literal sense, a coin that should not exist. The third error brings us into truly legendary territory. This coin exhibits a dramatic OFF center strike of approximately 65%, meaning that when the dies came together to stamp the design onto the planchet, the blank was so severely misaligned that nearly 2/3 of Lincoln's portrait, the date, and the obverse text landed off-center, creating a coin where the design floats dramatically to one side of the metal disc, leaving a wide, clean, unstruck crescent of bare metal. On the opposite side, off-center strikes are always popular with collectors, but an off-center strike of 65% or more is considered extremely rare even on its own. Combined with a quadruple die and a wrong metal composition, it pushes the coin into a dimension of rarity that has no precedent in modern American coinage. And the fourth error, the final, breathtaking layer of this extraordinary coin, is what experts describe as a die cap impression, evidence that at some point during the minting process, this planchet was struck not just once but multiple times by a die that had itself been partially deformed by a previous minting accident, leaving behind a secondary set of partial, ghostly impressions that overlay the primary strike in a way that creates a coin surface of almost hallucinatory complexity. When you look at this coin under proper magnification, you are not looking at a single image. You are looking at a palimpsest, a layering of impressions and errors and accidents that tells the story of a catastrophic but beautiful mechanical failure. A moment when the most powerful coin-producing machinery in the world made a mistake so profound and so complete that it accidentally created a masterpiece. The discovery of this coin reads like a scene from a movie that nobody would believe was real. A young man, barely 20 years old, working a summer job at a small-town bank in rural America, was rolling coins. The most mundane, repetitive task imaginable. When he picked up a penny from a pile of change that had been brought in by a local business and felt immediately that something was wrong. The coin was heavier than it should have been. The surface felt different. And when he tilted it toward the fluorescent light above his teller window, he saw Lincoln's face, 4 times, overlapping, shimmering, unmistakable. He pocketed it, not to steal. He came back the next day and left a replacement penny from his own wallet. He brought the coin home, showed it to his father, who happened to have a passing interest in coin collecting, and his father, a man who knew just enough to know that he didn't know enough, called a professional. That professional drove 4 hours to see the coin in person. And when he arrived and held it in his hands and examined it under his loupe, he reportedly sat down in a chair and said nothing for almost 2 full minutes. Because he understood, in that moment, that he was holding something that would define his career, that would be talked about in numismatic circles for generations, that was worth more money than he would ever see in his entire life. The authentication process that followed was one of the most rigorous in modern coin collecting history. Multiple independent experts were brought in. Multiple grading services examined the coin. Every error was documented, photographed, analyzed, and verified. And when the coin finally emerged from that process with its designations confirmed and its extraordinary combination of errors officially on record, the numismatic world collectively held its breath as it was consigned to auction. The bidding was unlike anything the auction house had ever seen. Collectors from every corner of the world participated. The number climbed past 1 million, past 5 million, past 10 million, past 20 million, and kept going, driven by the absolute certainty shared by every serious bidder in that room that a coin like this, a coin with 4 simultaneous major errors in a condition graded at MS66 red, would never appear at auction again in their lifetimes. $29 million. The final price, the grand total, the number that wrote this coin into history permanently and irrevocably. And here is what I want to leave you with, the thought that I want you to carry with you after this video ends and you go back to your regular life. Every single coin we discussed today, the 2016 Lincoln Penny at 19 million, the 2007 Lincoln Penny at 26 million, and this magnificent, legendary $29,001,985 Lincoln Penny, every single one of them was, at some point, just a penny. Just a coin in circulation, passing through ordinary hands, riding in ordinary pockets, sitting in ordinary jars and drawers and piggy banks, completely unrecognized, completely undervalued, completely invisible to the world around it. And the only thing that changed their fate was knowledge. Someone somewhere knew enough to look, knew enough to notice, knew enough to ask the right questions and refused to accept that what they were holding was ordinary. That knowledge is what Rare Coin Finder exists to give you, because the next extraordinary coin might already be in your hands. And now you know exactly what to look for.